Mutants, the card game. You play the leader of a team of mutants that you will have to help evolve to create the most powerful warriors in the arena. You will make them fight and accumulate as much victory points as possible at the end of the game. The game is played in 5 rounds. In each of them, the players go in turn and in clockwise direction to perform several rounds of actions. Each round is broken down into 3 phases. Phase 1. Crush the opponents. Phase 2. Move active mutant. Phase 3. Take action. This is what your mutants look like. Here you have their name, their gene type, their freeze value that allows you to score at the end of the game, the deployment skill, and the leave ability skill. Phase 1. Crush the opponents. At the beginning of your turn, if all of your opponent's power markers are in the red zone and yours is at the top of the power track, then you have crushed your opponents. The round ends immediately and all players discard their cards. Otherwise, go directly to the next phase. Phase 2. Move active mutant. If the active mutant slot is empty, go directly to the next phase. If the active mutant slot is occupied, then you must move the mutant to the empty left or right slot. If both locations are already occupied by mutants, then you must choose which of the 2 to leave the arena to free the location for the active mutant. And in this case, you must proceed as follows. First, remove the mutant who must leave the arena. Then completely resolve its leave ability. Put it in your discard pile. And finally, move your active mutant to the new empty slot. Important, be sure to fully resolve the leave ability effect before placing your mutant in the discard pile. FYI, it is possible in rare cases that there is still a mutant in the active mutant zone. If this happens, redo the phase Move Active Mutant until the location is finally completely empty. Phase 3. Take action. Once your active mutant slot is empty, you can choose one of the following 3 actions. Deploy a mutant, breed a mutant, incubate a mutant. First possible action, deploy a mutant. To deploy a mutant, play a card from your hand and place it on the active mutant slot of your personal arena. Resolve immediately its deployability if it has one, of course. The second possible action is breeding. This action will allow you to recover an advanced mutant card to use during the round. For breeder, you must first discard 2 cards from your hand, then choose in your gene pool one of the 3 enhanced mutant face-up. This one must contain the same genes as those of discarded mutants. For example, by discarding the zombie and the Tricera tank, you can collect either the Leech Lord or the Primal. On the other hand, you cannot recover the Devourer. Indeed, it lacks the gene Alien. For information, if the improved mutant has 2 identical genes, as for Leech Lord for example, it is not necessary to discard 2 cards possessing this gene. As long as the gene is available in at least 1 copy on one of the 2 cards, that's enough. After the breeding action, reveal the new enhanced mutant card in order to always have the 3 mutants of your genetic pool face up. Third and last possible action is incubation. This action is another way to recover a new advanced mutant card to use during this round. To do this, discard any mutant from your hand and collect an advanced mutant from your gene pool. Place it in your incubation area. Unlike breeding, genes are of no importance for incubation. Important: you can only have 1 mutant at a time in your incubation area. If the zone is already occupied, then you cannot do this action. The incubated mutant will be placed on top of your deck at the end of the round. Do not forget to reveal the new enhanced mutant card in order to always have the 3 mutants of your genetic pool face up. Once your action is done, it's up to the next player. Details about the various technical terms and abilities of your mutants. Win or lose power. When you gain power, move your marker up the power track by the number of spaces shown on the map. If your move ends on an opponent's marker, place yourself on top of them. If you are already at the top of the power track, then move all of the opponent's markers to the red zone equal to the number of power points recovered once at that location. If you lose power, move your marker down from the number of spaces on the map to the red zone. If you are already in the red zone, nothing happens. FYI, the order of each marker on the power track can make the difference in the final count. For info, if an effect causes several gains or losses of power, first solve that effect that affects the player whose turn it is. Then continue to solve the effects by following the order of turn until all the markers have moved. Cycle. Draw the number of cards indicated, then discard the same number of cards. Freeze. When a mutant uses the freeze ability, it is to place a card in the freeze zone. This card is removed from the game but will give you victory points at the end of the game. They are indicated at the top right. Copy. The ability to copy allows the mutant to resolve the ability of another mutant as if it were his own. Normally, the copy ability specifies which other mutant you can copy. For example, here a mutant of your gene pool. If the ability is not specified, then you can only choose to copy a face-up mutant of your arena. Transform. The transform ability activates when the mutant is deployed and immediately leaves the arena, declining his ability to leave the arena if he has one. Then, after discarding this mutant, draw a new mutant and deploy it. Obviously, if it has a deployment capability, solve it. Attack. Attack ability targets other players. It always specifies who is affected by the attack and can target multiple players at once. For example, with Haggis, all opponents will knock down the mutant on the side to the right of their arena. Knockdown is to flip the mutant card face down. The card stays on its location but loses its abilities. Defense. The defense ability protects your mutant from attacks from opponents. For information, the defense ability is not a deployment ability. One more detail. It cannot be copied. Dominant, dominated. You are dominant on all players whose power mark is lower or below your power track. And you are dominated by all players whose power mark is above you. As a reminder, when two markers are on the same location, it is the one on top that dominates. Gain. The gain ability allows you to choose a face-up mutant from your gene pool to place it in the area specified on the map, such as in your hand, for example. Permanent. As long as a mutant with a permanent ability is face-up on one of the locations in your arena, then the ability is active. For info, the permanent ability cannot be copied. Be careful, this ability has no effect during the end of run stages. End of the round. The round ends in two possible ways. Either because a player crushes opponents in phase 1, or because all players no longer have cards in hand. At the end of the round, follow the following steps in order. First, mark the points of the power track. The highest player on the power track will score the points indicated above the draw marker. Here, for example, it is 6 points. The other players will score 3 points except the last one, who does not score anything. Attention! If a player has ended the round by crushing the opponents, that is to say, that his marker is at the very top of the power track and that his opponents are in the red zone, then he will score the points in the big red box plus the little black box. For example, here it will be 6 plus 3. These opponents will not win anything. Once the points of the power track have been marked, advance the draw marker one space to the right. Obviously, if it's the end of the 5th round, the game ends and we go to the final count. Otherwise, all players with an incubating mutant place it face down on the top of their deck. Then all players draw 6 cards from their deck. Very important, if you have to draw and your deck is empty, then you must choose a mutant from your discard pile to place it in your freeze zone. Then shuffle your discard pile and place it there so that you have a new deck. Finally, reset the power track. To do this, the player who has the least victory points places his marker on the 2nd box of the power track. The next on the score track places his marker on the 3rd box, and so on. In the event of a tie on the score track, the player whose power marker is the lowest or below wins the tie. Then, next round. For information, the mutants who are still in the arenas of the players remain for the next round. End of game and final count. The game ends at the end of the 5th round after counting down the power track. Once this count is done, each player adds the points of the mutants of their freeze zone. The freeze points can be a fixed value like here, with a 4 for example, or they can be a varying value. For example, in this case, you score 1 point per zombie gene in your freeze zone, right here. 6 plus 6 plus 1 plus 1 plus 3 plus 4 plus 1 equals 22. The player with the most victory points wins the game. In case of a tie, the player who won the least points because of his freeze zone wins the game. In case of a new tie, the highest ranked player in the power track wins the game. It was the video rule of Mutants, the card game. Thanks and good game.